Hello, and welcome back to another Minecraft Let's Play video with me, Elven Dragon. So last episode we went and built up a small little water stream and a bulk storage for our cobbled deep slate because we ran out of space in our main storage system. And since then we've gotten this thing fully working, so now nothing drops and lands on the outside of the water stream. Everything goes right into the storage system. And I'm quite happy with how that seems to be working. I haven't really looked too much after we tested it a few times, and we've just been kind of tossing stuff in. So far, it seems to be working. So I think it's fair to call this build a success. Now, since then, we have been digging out more of the pit, and we are pretty much at the bottom layer. We do have one thing to decide, though, which is whether or not we're going to stop at our original planned layer, or if we're going to go down one farther, because lava layer is apparently negative 54. So we have to determine whether or not we're going to do... I think we're just going to go down to 53 and go from there. See how that looks. But other than that, this is coming along quite nicely. Which means it's time for us to again expand our storage. So one of the things that I've been wanting to do is I've been wanting to get in some storage using our copper golems, since they can start sorting things. Now, the issue is if you can't tell, our previous layer of storage is intersecting with our bulk storage of stuff that still needs to be sorted. We do have a bunch of layers that we can expand here, which we're probably going to move this all down into here. It shouldn't be that bad. But we do have a path here marked out to more easily access that. And apparently I built it on the wrong layer. So now we get mobs spawning up there. Lovely. No matter. I was thinking we might have to move everything. I think we can get away with not moving our water streams here for a little bit longer. We're going to have to move that here soon. But we're definitely going to have to move the bulk storage. It is going to be in the way there, and we're not really going to be able to connect everything in together particularly easy, especially with this layer here only being 4 blocks above from the hopper line that connects up to what remains of our old temporary storage into our water streams. So we're going to have to go ahead and move those. It shouldn't be too bad. It should just mean sending everything through again. It will also clear out some of our extra cobbled deep slate if I missed any, and maybe help us get a little bit better idea of what we need to sort through and put into our system. So I'm going to go get that all moved and start kind of marking out some space for our chests, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so we've gone ahead and moved all of our stuff into another set of chests to temporarily store it, which means that we can go ahead and tear down our original storage. But since then, I've gone and kind of started marking stuff out here. Now, our golems have apparently decided not to cooperate at all here, and are currently quite a ways down. But the idea here is that we're going to have a 3x3 of chests that each golem is going to be in charge of. We might try and put 2 in there. I don't know. Probably just stick with 1. It might work better. But they're going to basically store stuff in the chests, put stuff into a dump chest that I have not added in yet, because while I was doing some testing, the golems decided to put stuff into the chest that leads off to the next section before fully filling up these chests. So we're going to try and get the golems to recognize and check all of these chests first, and then check that chest. We'll see. But for this one, we're going to start with our wool. I sorted out all of our terracotta and our concrete and concrete powders. We're going to keep each section as its own separate thing. So our first section here is going to be wool, and we'll probably put our concrete powders, terracottas, and then glass. Now, the issue with this is that if we don't quite have all the items that we're going to sort, then this isn't going to work particularly well because we have to have the item in the chest. Otherwise, it won't put the item in there. But things like our dyed blocks should be good to start. Now, further along, I'm thinking we might put in a section for books, swords, armor, etc., and kind of sort those out of our storage. But for now, I want to start with just the items that we already have a decent amount of, but it doesn't make sense to have one of our other sorters in place for those. So that would be our glass, terracottas, etc., and things like our bricks, stone bricks, and all of our cut stones and stairs, slabs, etc. I don't need a full 10 double chests of those. If I just have one double chest that has all of our different versions of stairs or all of our deep slate cut stone, I think that'll be just fine. Now, we won't be able to take everything out of it, but it does mean that those things will be automatically sorted out, which I think is a fair price to pay for being able to get these sorted nice and easily, especially considering all of our other sorters use about 40 of each item that we want to sort, so one is considerably less. Now, one issue that I see is I don't think this is going to be particularly fast, so we'll have to see if we actually want to connect it to our storage or if we want to have extra chests and just funnel things in on our own. I have to see how quick this is, do some testing with it that way once this is fully in. Part of my concern is the non-stockable items slowing down the entire process when the golems have to go through each and every single chest. We probably should have put them first on here, but I figured putting in our dyed blocks would be the most useful use of the space. Initially, I was going to have a block between each section. I think we should be able to squeeze them in together right next to each other, which would be nice because that means that we can fit 5 sections along each side instead of just 4. We're going to have to see if we need more or less than that, but I want to just start with getting the first sections here in and seeing how that goes. Which means we need to wrangle our golems, grab that one that's apparently fallen all the way down. I hope we can leash these guys. Otherwise, getting them back up is going to be a bit of a pain. The ones that we already have here seem to have already frozen and turned into statues. I don't know if we can deoxidize them. There we go. Oh. Hello. That might be easier. If we turn them into statues and put them in that way, that might be a lot easier to put them in. That'll take a long time waiting though, so rather not have to do that if we don't have to. But first off, we need to get these in place and built up and planned. So I'm going to go get at least the one side in place, and then I'll be right back. All right, so I've gone and sorted out all of our glass, terracotta, and concrete into the first 4 sections. The last section here, I'm thinking we might start with some of our wood blocks. But before we do that, I want to make sure that we get the golems actually functioning properly. So I went and put in some fences just to ensure that they don't fall down. And while going through here, we have some issues. I do need to play around with how they prioritize which chest to put stuff into. It may be that each section needs to have its own special chest set up for the back section here. Because for this one, they'll go and they'll put everything in except for the red, orange, and green cyan chests. Because those ones, before they touch those, they'll go and stick stuff into the extra chest. Which is why we have green and orange wool in the chest to send off to the next section. And it definitely seems like one golem is going to be enough for what we want to do here. I did try and put 2 into one section, but they push each other to the sides and then they don't sort right, or they can't even reach all of the chests. So, one golem it is. I think it should be fast enough if we do want to connect it up to the rest of the storage system, because they will take 16 at a time. So it will back up a bit at the beginning, but I think it might be able to keep up, especially with the number of items that should be coming down to this layer by the time it gets through the entire rest of the sorting system. But we will see. I haven't quite decided on that yet. What we might do is we might put in a switch to either put stuff through the system or just send it off to the next layer if we have another layer. We may just keep it as general unsorted bulk. Now, one thing that I'm noticing while we're going through here and trying to put everything in is that it's really difficult to tell where one section ends and another begins. That's why I was originally going to have the barriers between them. So I've decided what we're going to do is we can go ahead and do hanging signs up here. So this one will be wool. Let's actually go ahead and center that. And go and dye that. Add a bunch of colors and stuff and make that all pretty. And we'll just go ahead and go and set that in all along the side here. Now for the wood sections, what I think we're going to do is we're going to use these shelves and we'll go ahead and put our wood blocks in where they go in the sections. So I think we can control where we put these. I haven't played around with them. I just noticed them while I was looking at stuff in the crafting table and making up the signs. So I went and grabbed out as many of our assorted wood blocks that I could find. And I think we're going to start with putting in planks in our shelves. And we'll go ahead and use those to mark what's in each of our chests. So we can go ahead and put our oak in there. Oh, good. We can put them wherever we want. It does look like it takes the entire stack, though, which is not ideal. So we'll have to go ahead and make sure we only have one in there. So from left to right, it'll go top, middle, bottom, then top, middle, bottom, etc. for each slice here. And I really like how that looks. Now our signs will work just fine for the rest of them. We'll use those to mark out the middle. And I think the next section that we have is terracotta and dyes. Because I went and put the dyes into the extra chest here. We'll put regular terracotta into a slice up above. But oh no, I'm quite happy with how this has turned out. Our glass one has our glass panes and tinted glass. And then our concrete has all the concrete in one chest. All of our extra white concrete powder down the bottom. And keeping the powders as our main sorting thing for the rest of the chests. So that does leave candles unsorted still for this. I'm sure we'll find another spot to put them. And I kind of like how that looks. Wasn't entirely certain on the pale oak. I decided to go with it because I figured the white would look best with the gray of the stone. And I think that'll work for our labeling. Since we can't exactly put our item frames on here, especially not with this being a lower slab on the level of our bottom chests. So I think that'll work well for our decoration. We'll put a row of stairs behind it, and we'll put stairs and slabs along the outside here to make it look more like a cave. I think that'll work. We just have to get the rest of the terracotta and the concrete in place and figure out the golems in order to make this thing fully functional. So I'm gonna have a play around with how we have the chests and everything oriented and try to see if we can maybe get these guys to put stuff in the deposit chest last and possibly set up and mark out a few more sections and what we're going to put in. If we have enough space, I'll try and see if we can't fit in the switch to change this between going through the system and going into the temporary bulk storage, and then I'll be back. Alright, so we've gone and gotten a bunch more of our chests in and somewhat sorted. Still missing a few blocks for a few of these, mostly just trying to get the label set up for these that we have in so far. And we've gone in, at least put a little bit of each of our different colored concretes and terracottas into each chest. So now this entire side is fully set up. We did have to reduce it down to 2 chests for each one. I ended up actually looking at a tutorial, which I'll have a link down in the description for that, and it seems like this is working quite a bit better. Now, I haven't actually tested if it'll actually go all the way through, but we have all of our golems in on this side. We have none of them on this side here yet, and we don't even have the section set up to put them in just yet. I'm mostly focused on getting those organized for now, but that should have pretty much every block that we can have stair or slab variants of in this side. Plus all of our copper over here. I decided to put our diamonds and our netherite into these 2 chests here. just to kind of keep them a little bit separate, and also because I don't expect to really need a full slice for either of those. Now, the rest of this section and probably this entire wall here is going to be for our potions, books, and probably all of our armor and weapons and stuff that we have in our bulk chests. I believe that's the majority of what we have down in there. But with this in, once we get the rest of the golems in, we just need to go ahead and run this through. So I'm going to go and figure out where I want to put all of those into the remaining section of storage. But for now, I think that that is probably going to be just about it for today. So I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more of what is going on in this area and in the rest of this world. And I will catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.